Never charged, never tried, yet still experiencing something that many believe amounts to torture. For the first time, a Guantanamo Bay detainee has moved his battle for humane conditions to a US federal court. With more on this, here's RT's Marina Portnaya.
Torture and starvation have come to define America's notorious island prison. And for the first time in history, the U.S. military will be forced to explain its actions in a U.S. federal court. Hunger-striking Guantanamo detainee Imad Hassan is suing President Barack Obama to stop the brutal force-feeding actions at Gitmo. Lawyers for the gravely ill Yemeni man say he's been force-fed over 5,000 times and subjected to a form of medieval water torture known as pumping.
He is being given very large quantities of fluid through oversized nasogastric feeding tubes in a short period of time, perhaps 2/3 of a gallon in perhaps 30 minutes. Twice a day, which is causing him considerable pain.
Water pumping was widely used during the Spanish Inquisition and, ironically, employed by the Japanese army against American soldiers during World War II.
It's the same torture with a 21st century twist. It's being done with feeding tubes by doctors and nurses, not by inquisitors with teapots and buckets. Sometimes frequently a laxative is given to the detainees in conjunction with the liquid nutrient, which causes him to defecate during the force-feeding process. Afterwards, they're held in a restraint chair for as much as 2 hours, frequently sitting in their own filth.
34-year-old Hassan has been languishing at Gitmo for 12 years without charge. In 2009, he was cleared for release. Hassan went on hunger strike 7 years ago to protest his illegal detention.
The tube is poured into the bag.
Critics say the U.S. military has deliberately made force feeding more painful in order to stop Hassan and dozens of others from protesting the only peaceful way they can.
They force the liquid in so fast. These men end up vomiting all over themselves, and it all just continues. It really is torture.
Stopping something that the U.S. won't even acknowledge is happening. In a rather Orwellian twist, Guantanamo officials are no longer allowed to use the phrase hunger strike. Instead, any prisoner who is starving himself is categorized as being on a long-term, non-religious fast. The rebranding effort is part of Guantanamo's revised standard of operating procedures, conveniently called the medical management of detainees with weight loss. As first reported by journalist Jason Leopold, force feeding is now called enteral feeding, and U.S. officials no longer disclose how many prisoners are on hunger strike, except for Imad Hassan. His story will be heard in a court of law. Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.